Well, man, Z here with a quick book review. Maybe not that quick. I don't know. Depends on when I run out of things to say, I guess. I'm learning some computer programming this summer. I'm picking up Python, but it's nice to read some sci-fi in between or other books. And I'm enjoying the third book in the Hyperion series right now by Dan Simmons, Endymion. That's the name of a John Keats poem. If you haven't read the Hyperion series, this is probably going to be out of left field for you, but this is the third book in that series. It's a really good, I would consider it a classic sci-fi series. I guess it started in the 80s, early 90s, and wrapped up somewhere in the 90s. It's in there, I would kind of put it in there with Dune, that type of sci-fi. It's a little harder sci-fi than Dune, definitely has a lot more AI-based stuff in it. It's not quite as far future, but some elements of it feel more far future. I won't go through the whole series. I'll just talk about this book in particular, assuming you know a little bit about it, but I'll just give you an overview. Basically, the Hyperion series deals with a couple hundred years in the future. The Earth has been destroyed or something has happened to it where it's no longer there, but we inhabit a whole bunch of different planets. The first two books, they kind of are together. It deals with our interaction with what's called the Techno Core, which is it's an AI group, basically. It's AIs who become independent from humans and may have misgivings towards us, be manipulating us, arguably. These books, I would definitely have read Hyperion, the first two books of Hyperion, before reading this, but this book definitely appears to go its own tangent. This book, the first Hyperion book is really eclectic. It reads sort of like Canterbury Tales. The second book, a lot of people don't like it as much. I actually liked it quite a bit. Has a lot more military type sci-fi, and it's formulated not like Canterbury Tales as a bunch of travelers. It's has a more direct narrative, albeit a lot of philosophical and other types of digressions. This book here is more of a chase book, a very well-written chase story. It deals with a man named Endymion, Raoul Endymion. I read it as Raoul, but he emphasized in there it's pronounced Raoul, who is basically he's a provincial guy. He's has a little bit of a military background. He lives on this planet Hyperion, which is sort of a backwater world with a lot of mystery associated with it. He's like a guide. He takes people like duck hunting and stuff like that. You can tell he has a lot of woodsman type of savvy. And something happens where he gets arrested for a murder. That he killed somebody, but wasn't a murder. It was more like a pitched fight where somebody was trying to kill him for bad reasons, and he basically defended himself. And one of those, it's like Nick Cage Con Air type of story. He a good guy who winds up in some deep shit. And somehow, I won't spoil it, but he gets rescued and he gets put onto a mission. He's sort of like a go-to guy, if you will. And at least I'm not done with the book, so I'm just some of this might be inaccurate, but the way I take it is he gets put on this mission to help rescue this girl called Aeneas, sort of like Aeneas from the Aeneid. There's a lot of always references to classic poetry and Greco-Roman culture in these book series. Like, I think the author is really into that type of stuff, as am I. I love the Iliad and the Odyssey and the Aeneid and John Keats and stuff like that. Shakespeare and all that stuff is in here, especially Keats. And so he gets put on this mission to save this mysterious girl who's traveling through time. She's traveling forward through time, is going to pop up in their time from a couple hundred years in the past. It's implied she's got some kind of powers. I won't go all into detail on that. She's somehow tied in with the old Techno Core. I won't go all into detail about that, but he has to rescue her. The people he's rescuing her from are not, I would argue they're not villains. They're the new governmental system. They call them PACs. The PACs is a combination of the Vatican and a military that are mixed together. It's like the Catholic Church took over and they have like a military branch. So there's this man, his name is Father Captain De Soya, who's not a villain. He's got his belief system and so forth. He does have to wax a few fools who are people who are not believers, if you will. They're called ousters. But, he's a devout Catholic in some sort of futuristic context. And he's after her because he knows she possesses some sort of abilities. I'll just leave it at that. And so it becomes a chase that, as I'm reading it, I'm about 400 pages into it. It's about a 600-page book. It becomes a chase across different planets by conventional and some very unconventional means. It's definitely got a war sci-fi type of a vibe to it and a lot of weird planets. I really like it. The writing is, Dan Simmons is a really good writer. If you're not familiar with him, if you've seen the show called The Terror, the first season was based on a book that was written by him. He definitely has a penchant for horror, and his sci-fi always has a little bit of horror mixed into it. The horror element of this book, I would say, is it's a recurring theme in his books, on Hyperion series books, is sort of a resurrection mechanism called the cruciform, which it's a symbiote, whether it be organic or biological or biologically created thing by an artificial intelligence. I'm not really sure at this point. It's not revealed, but basically this thing gets on your body, and it's grotesque. It looks like a crucifix, but it's a living creature, we'll say. It embeds itself on you. You cannot get it out. It sort of ties itself into you. And anytime you die, including suicide or being disintegrated, very few ways of dying where it cannot resurrect you. It will pull your cells back together, even if it's an amoeboid clumped up mass. So one of the things they do really kind of cool in here is all the people in the packs, at least all the military people and higher ups, all have the cruciform embedded in them, so they don't really die unless they get like blown up in space and just vaporized or something like that. But if they die by any conventional mean, they can be brought back. So one thing they do is they have craft that go many G-forces. You go like, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of G-forces, and they get pulverized. They die in the process, and it's implied to be painful. But so they can hit hyperspeed. And they die and then they resurrect them, and it's a painful process both ways. It's not pleasant, and they kind of have to go through a memory restoration. So it's got sort of some grotesque body horror type of stuff associated with it. The big thing about Dan Simmons' books that I like is it's a universe rife with mystery. The first Hyperion book, you go into it, it's like 6 or 7 different stories that are tethered together. And it's really mysterious. Some of the books are horrific. Some are military sci-fi. Some are just weird stories. But they're all really good and intriguing. He's a really good writer. I would say the first book in the series, Hyperion, is great. The second book I thought was really good. And this book, I don't know, it's between great and really good. It's definitely a must-read in sci-fi. It's as good as typical Dune book, that's for sure. In the Dune series, I really love God Emperor the best, and a lot of his writing is kind of like that, because God Emperor, if you're familiar with that, is very philosophical, and he does philosophical digressions in his books, which I like. Some people may not like that. So I would say if you're a sci-fi reader, the Hyperion series, including Endymion, is for you. If you're not a sci-fi reader, I would read the first Hyperion book. Don't start with this. The other thing I really like about the books is it has really cool art covers. It's one artist does them all. I don't know the name of the gentleman or woman, I'm not sure. But it's really groovy. It's got a classic type of feel to it. That creature on there, that being, that's called the Shrike. I don't know why he's on the boat. I haven't gotten that far yet, but he's like a Terminator type of thing. It's implied that he might be a robot or something, but he can travel through time and space. He can be like a whole bunch of places at once, unless he can somehow propagate himself, and he just like eviscerates and tears people apart. Really don't know his agenda in these books yet. Hopefully there's a reveal in here, but it's implied that the cover's implying that he might be helping the good guys. And there's a blue dude on there. I kind of like the blue dude. That's a Bedig, A for Android. He's an android, but it's definitely implied that he has a personality and probably initiative and consciousness and so forth. He makes his own choices up, and he's a really cool character. Sometimes he throws in a kind of a joke or something. He's a little bit off, kind of like a C-3PO type of guy. He's a robot like a C-3PO. He definitely has a personality, and it's cool. They're going up a river on a riverboat, although the river is quite different than an ordinary river. It's kind of a time and space type of river, so it's got a heavy sci-fi here. This is like pure sci-fi for those people that love it. I sure as hell do. I read all sorts of literature, ranging from philosophy to the classics to not too much modern stuff. It kind of sucks, the woke writing today's, but I love me some sci-fi, and this is definitely a good book series. So if you like Dune, check out the Hyperion series, including Endymion, third book. I'm running short on time here, and I'm not a good video maker, so it's a pretty good take. I'll probably upload this, and maybe a couple people will watch it. Have a good night or a good day wherever you're at. Take care. Wildman Z out.